Alright, and welcome everybody. I have a brain hack for you guys here today that I have learned and discovered for myself because I just tend to exploit and figure things out. So let me tell you one of my little brain hacks that I've been using to help me basically do things a lot better. So it's just being able to understand more of how things operate and how things work. So my whole secret that I found out is I basically found that thinking can be dangerous if you don't do it at the right time. Okay, guys? So basically, if you are thinking and driving, that's the same thing as if you're writing down stuff in a journal. Alright, so you don't want to write stuff down in a journal while you're driving because it's going to distract you. What you want to do is know that you're driving, okay? Don't think while driving, know while driving. Now let me explain how it works. It's a little bit like a hard drive that is inside of our brain. So the longer you write and think about things, the more control in general I tend to find that you will have or other people will have. So you'll tend to notice anybody that just thinks for too much, like even if it's not a matter of them thinking too long, if you think too much without taking breaks, that can also cause conflicts of you losing control, because thinking can be dangerous if you don't do it the right way and if you don't use it at the right time. It's just like anything. You know, a handgun is only useful defending yourself if you actually are able to make it work and use it the time you need it. You know, if you're not able to use it the time you need it, it isn't even gonna matter. Same thing with thinking. It's like there are right times and wrong times to be thinking, and there are right ways and wrong ways to utilize thinking. Nobody ever really understood that it's a mechanism that needs to be developed and utilized in order to work in harmony with making things operate the best that you can make them work. So the way it works for me, and it could work better in many different other types of ways for other people, just depending on everybody's own skill level. Everybody's at a different skill level. So some people can think for 10 minutes, people can think for 20 minutes, some people can think for 30 minutes, some people can think for up to an hour without needing a break. But the way I see it is the longer you think, the longer you're actually writing stuff into that journal. Alright, so what does that mean? If you keep thinking too long, normally what happens if you just keep writing and writing and writing without taking a break, you're going to write that information sloppily, and it's not going to be very neat. So the whole secret to getting yourself in order and working to the best of your ability, that's why it's a brain hack, is it's being able to operate better than you normally would be able to. So that starts at the root, writing that information into your mind and your brain neatly. If you neatly and organizingly write that information into your guys' brains and your memories, it's actually going to be a lot more beneficial that you're actually able to control over these functions, because these are functions. To think about something and know something, it's two different functions, okay? So you need to understand knowing is one of the other half. Alright, so you can write the information and then you can read the information. So it's always a lot. It takes a lot, like 10 times more work to write the information down. When you read information, you can just read information very, very quickly because it's already all written down. It's already in construct, in order for you. So just think about it as, make sure you guys read more than you write. And just make sure you know when you're writing stuff and know when you're reading stuff, and know the be able to distinguish the difference between when you're doing these things and when you're not doing these things. Because if you actually basically get both of these in harmony at a very good level, then you'll start seeing amplifications of intelligence, and you'll be a lot more productive because you process information a lot easier, because you're not doing things that are basically holding you back. So, and most people don't know that this is happening. So now that you can control and balance between the two things that you're doing, just balance them out and do the things at the right time. So then it'll work more in your favor. And that's all this is all about. When you do the right things at the right time, it will work more in your favor. So it's one of the biggest mind tricks out there, and it's our memory. It's a little bit like a hard drive. You write that information in there, and then boom, you can read it or load it. It's the same thing as reading and loading. So it's like when you're installing a video game to a computer, it's writing all that information to the hard drive. That's basically the same thing as thinking. Whenever you're thinking, you're writing that information to the hard drive. It doesn't matter how big the video game really is, because as soon as it's all written down, that's the hard part. That's the part that actually gives you the intelligence to be able to see the actual imagery and the whole process of all the stuff going on. So as soon as you guys get that information written down and saved into your memory, you guys are good to go, and you guys are going to be able to process stuff a lot smoother and easier. Alright, so another thing that I want to say is, another thing that you want to do is, when you write that information to your memory, you need to take a break for as long as you think. So if you write 10 minutes of information to your brain, and it's in if it's type of the brand new information, say you're learning something in college, say you're whatever it may be, learning a language. Study the language for 10 minutes, so write as neatly as you can in that journal, in your hard drive, and then take a 10-minute break and save that information. Because it's as soon as you take that 10-minute break, then you can really absorb what you know, and it's written down, and you can just load into what you just wrote. It's not until you actually write down that information that for that first time that you could actually go back and reload and tap into archives of information. So it's very important to be able to utilize the technique, so then you can do this so that it works at its highest potential. And if anybody wants to know the science behind it, I'll tell you guys now. So I'm basically done. That's the end of the brain hack there. If you guys want to know the science behind this, of course, everybody can just perceive this however you guys really want to. Whatever makes it easier for you guys to perceive. The way I like to perceive it, which helps me perceive it, and how I kind of figured it out was, basically, give me a second here. Oh, yeah. The way the creator made things is, the creator works in a way where he can make anything out of nothing, because he rules over all of nothing. So he can make anything out of nothing. So when he made us, he had to put that boundary into a function for us, or that function into a boundary. So we can also do just about anything, but there's a slight variation. We have to take something and something to make anything, but it's generally only if it's what God expects. So that's how I found this out, like, because if you think something with your brain, you will get a memory. Alright, so that's ABC. So something and something gets anything, but if it's what God expects. So God expects for us to be able to know information and save stuff into a memory bank. So that's what God expects, so we have that ability, we have that function. So make sure you guys know that it's an actual function. So it's not till you actually know it's a true function that you can actually use that function, you know, more productively, basically. So that's how it works. When you think something with your brain, it will write into the memory, okay? Because it's something, you get some anything if it's what God expects. So that's one of our capabilities that we naturally are granted, is to be able to think with our brain to create a memory. Same thing, it goes, we can also know something with our brain, and then we get the actual experience. So that's why it's very important to think with your brain to actually just know the experience that's going on, because that's like the video game just running. As soon as that information, if you just run the video game, that's how everything makes sense. If you're just writing the information, it doesn't really. Oh, I got sidetracked. Yeah. So anyway, if you know something with your brain, you get the experience. So that's what God expects, and that's how it all works. So, my final conclusion is, if you're a beginner, start off thinking for 5 minutes, possibly even if you're a true beginner. Think about things for 3 minutes, take a 3-minute break, or 5 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Keep building yourself up. If you find yourself developing your talent and you find yourself to be in more control of what you're capable of doing, you know, try to go up with it a little bit more. But I tend to find sometimes there's not much more to think about and to really know, to really, write into your journals. So I find that I tend to just kind of know more than I actually think nowadays, and that's why I'm free. Alright, I'm free. I'm probably one of the freest people out there, because I don't think about very many things, but the thing is, I have the function, okay? So if I need to think about something, I'll think about it, alright? So that's how I work. So I've literally come to the point where it's just totally, everyone will have to see for themselves and use this information for themselves. And my final conclusion is, please try to use this information to help people out. You know, please don't use it for evil. That's one of the biggest reasons you guys are even able to understand this concept behind my principle and belief here. It's because I tend to generally believe I'm a pretty good guy, and I like to do positive things and help people out. So let's just take the evidence as it is, that, you know, maybe we only can know this information because we're becoming good enough to know this stuff. So let's keep it good, guys. Let's just stay positive. Let's help people out. Pass this information down to people. Let them free themselves and naturally be able to express and communicate what they truly believe to other people, so we can actually truly experience things for the way that it just naturally flows at its most basically natural understanding. It's just going back down to its true, it's the way it's supposed to be, guys.